All right, folks, welcome. This is Wager Detective. This is December 18th, 2025, and we're going to be talking about this fantastic game tonight. Intriguing matchup between the Los Angeles Rams visiting the Seattle Seahawks. The game will be in Seattle. Folks, this might be my best breakdown yet, so click the like button, subscribe. I'm really going to be giving out a ton of information on this game outside of just this year's stats and what's going on. And this is just what Wager Detective does, and hopefully you guys are learning from it, that are catching the videos. Share it, like it, let people know that Wager Detective is on the rise, and he's just going to keep delivering. Let's get into it. Off the bat, I want to get into some history between certain players that are going to be significant in this game, and that evolves around the quarterbacks. I will let you know that the Rams are 8-2 in their last 10 Thursday night football games, and Stafford is 7-3 versus Seattle. 6-0 in his last 6 since moving over to the Rams. And it is a Thursday night game, and you got to take into the fact, I don't think anybody in the world is thinking about this, but Wager Detective is just tuned into it. Stafford has played many games on Thursday in his career with the Lions, so short week preparation, clear edge there outside of the... I don't like when stats are leaning so far to one side, but I mean, to me, without giving away too much, I mean, the Rams, like I said, 8-2 in their last 10. The Rams are on Thursday Night Football. And those games, over the last 7, they're 6-1, plus 7.43 points per game average. And the total sits at 39 on those games. The last 5, they're 4-1 Thursday Night Football. This is the Rams now. Rams 4-1 last 5 Thursday Night Football, plus 4.4, 40.4 points per game. We look at the Seahawks. They are 6-4 in their last 10 Thursday Night Football games. We do know that in those last 7, they are 3-4, minus 3.14 points per game. Average score is about 45, or is 45, if you round up. And their last 5 Thursday Night Football games, they are 2-3, minus 4 points per game average on their plus minus, and that's 44 points per game average that they're having there. This is where it gets really interesting for the Rams, and how I'm building a case for the Rams. Under McVay, road December, the Rams are 15-6, plus 5.8 points per game, 46 points per game average. Against the division in that time span, they're 8-2, plus 13.7 points per game, 47.1 per game average. Their last 10 road division games, their last 10 road games December, they are 8-2, plus 4.9 points per game, 44.3 points per game average. If you look at Seattle, they're 9-6 their last 15 home games. Seattle last 15 home games, 9 over, 6 under the total that's set tonight, which is 42.5. So 9 of their last 15 home games December for Seattle have gone over. Seattle is 6-9 last 15 home games straight up, and they are 4-6 in their last 10 home games in December. Average score is 43.7 points per game. I hope we're just paying attention, guys. You could always rewind and go back to this. Stafford versus Seattle, he is 7-3, but he is 6-0 since joining the Rams against the Seattle Seahawks. 6-0 his last 6 versus the Seahawks, plus 7.5 points per game the Rams are, and 39.2 points per game average. Over the 10 games in Stafford's career versus the Seahawks, 5 of those games have gone over, 5 have gone under the total that's set tonight. Darnold is 1-3 versus the Rams in his career. Average score is minus 1.75 points per game, and the total lands on 43.5 points per game average. Darnold Thursday Night Football, he is 4-4 straight up. And then, Darnold Thursday Night Football, 0-1, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3. Yeah, he's 4-4. No, 0-1, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 5-3. He's 5-3 on Thursday Night Football. 4 of those games have gone over the total, 4 have gone under. In his last 5 Thursday Night Football games, he is 4-1. Okay, so that's a little bit of a case for them there. But that one loss out of the 5 was against the Rams. When he was with the Minnesota Vikings, they lost 20-30 at the Rams in that game. If you look at Stafford Thursday Night Football, he is 8-7 overall. That's including his time with the Lions. A lot of those games were on Thanksgiving Day, but he is 4-1 with the Rams since he's joined them on Thursday Night Football. 11 of those games have gone over in his career on Thursday, and 4 have gone under the total that's set tonight at 43.5. So play that last 5 minutes back, go over it, delve into it. We're going to get into the action at hand and look at what this team is doing this year. We're looking at this Rams team, and they are solid. I mean, you look at that SRS, that simple rating system, that's 13.94, and the rest OS sits at 2.58. So you know that they've been playing a tough schedule this year, and they're just really, really fantastic. I think the thing that stands out to me, all the stats I gave you, is the fact that the Rams under McVay in December on the road are 15-6. And they're winning those games between their plus and minus average over those games, plus 5.8 points per game, 46 points per game average. And then in that same time span against the division road December under McVay, they are 8-2, plus 13.7 points per game, 47.1 games per average. So I don't want to be biased to the cap already, but I'm looking at the Rams and the over. I see why now that the game was tilted towards the Rams as the opener, and now it has moved to the Seattle Seahawks -1.5. So let's take a look at some of these stats and see what we can find here. We look at their offense; they are second in the league this year right now, yards per game. Okay, they're number 1 in first downs per game. They moved the chains. They got 329, as you can see there. They're 13th defensively in giving up first downs. They've only given up 268. So, you do some math there. What's that? 232 plus another 29, 42, 52, so 61. They're plus 61 first downs on the year against their opponents in 14 games. So let's do a little math here, as I like to do. 61 divided by 14. They're averaging plus 4.4 first downs per game against their opponents this year. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. And you look, they've ran through the gauntlet. We're going to get into that, but look, they're first in passing touchdowns with 37. I mean, come on, Matthew Stafford. If they don't give him the MVP this year, man, there's something wrong. He's only thrown 5 interceptions all year, 37 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Absolutely amazing. You look at them on the defensive side of the ball, they do have 13 defensive interceptions on the year. That puts them at 6th. So they're not just good on the offensive side of the ball. And you've got to think this team is licking their chops and chomping at the bit after losing in that NFC conference game last year against the Eagles in that snow game, and they actually almost won. I had the Rams in that game. I'm an Eagles fan, but I definitely had the Rams in that one. If you look at them, they're averaging 2.85 points per drive, and they're 4th in the NFL in giving up points per drive with 1.71. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, if we look at who they've played, I mean, come on, they started... Okay, let's just look at the teams that are going to make the playoffs this year. Texans probably make it. Eagles, that's 2. Colts, 3. Colts are 3. San Francisco's 4. Ravens up in the air. We'll say no, but the Jaguars, that's 5. Okay, Jaguars are 5. 49ers, it makes it 6. Seattle's going to make it, that's 7. Buccaneers probably sneak in, that's 8. And the Lions, 9. So 9 out of their 14 games have come against playoff teams, and they're 11-3. I just find that to be absolutely fantastic. Now, they are coming off a pretty high-scoring game this week, which can lean against the total here. Their last 3 weeks have gone over the total set tonight, which scares me off the total a little bit, but I mean, listen, it's just like when people were at the blackjack table or the roulette wheel and it's rolled like 7 times red and people were like, I'm going to bet black. I mean, you have to, every bet is independent of itself. Now, the book's set in 42.5. From the numbers I'm looking at, I would gather that a lot of people are betting the under, in my opinion. I haven't looked at the ticket splits. I don't have any of those accounts, but for them to have the total at 42.5, from everything I just said, from Stafford and the Rams and McVay on the road in December, Stafford Thursday Night Football, and I mean, for it to be that low is, and you're looking at two good defenses, but defenses can turn into interceptions that lead to short fields. So I'm still believing that total was probably bet down. If we look at the Rams, if we look at their third down conversions, they are 21st in the NFL. They only convert 38% of the third downs, which instantly tells me that they're an explosive play team. They don't get a lot of first downs or convert is because they're probably shortening the field by getting big plays where you're getting less chances to get first downs. So that's my initial thought there based on how they score and all their first downs. They're an explosive team. They pick up chunk yards very quick and probably very rarely getting to that third, but 38% on third down for the Rams. If we look at the red zone, they are third in the NFL. 42 of 63 have been converted, and they're second in the NFL in letting teams convert. So they've scored more than double their opponents once they get into the red zone. I mean, that stat, if you just looked at that, that's absolutely mind-blowing. They have 42 red zone touchdowns, and their opponents only have 20. I mean, that's mind-boggling. So they're second there in defense there. You look at Stafford, look at this. He's number 1 in the NFL. That bold lettering there that you see is all leading the league. 193 first downs, 7.9% touchdown percentage, only 5 interceptions, 37 touchdown passes. I mean, that's just... I knew he was having a good year. Now that I'm looking into this and looking into these stats for this game, since it came across my radar, it's just absolutely amazing. Let's see how they get it done here. If we look at on the ground, Kyron Williams leads the way with 10 touchdowns for them, and Blake Corum has 5. And then Puka Nacua got in there for 1. If we look at receiving touchdowns, Devontae Adams has 14. He leads the league, but from what I understand from certain reports and media outlets, Devontae Adams is not going to play tonight. So that does throw a wrinkle in there as far as who's going to score. He has 14 of the 37 receiving touchdowns. Now, if we look at first downs, Puka Nacua is Matthew Stafford's safety blanket there. He has 66 first downs receptions, which leads the league there. So that's who he's looking for. He's looking for Devontae Adams second because he has 51 first downs. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to pick up the slack there for Devontae Adams since he's not in. I would look for Higbee to probably get a little bit more. Colby Parkinson looks like he will get thrown in the mix a little bit more. If we look at the Rams, they do have 53 touchdowns from scrimmage this year between passes and rushing. Kicking game. Let's see who's doing what here. Okay, this is kicks and punt returns. Nothing really stands out here. Let's get to the kicking department here. Joshua Carty is their kicker. And it looks like Melvin Harris played in 6 games. I don't know. I guess, let me look at the injury report here. I guess Carty's back because I don't see him on the. It says Devontae Adams is doubtful, but I heard he's not going to play. I wouldn't risk it. I would try it. And listen, that could tilt the game towards the under. I mean, you have a guy that has that many receiving touchdowns. I mean, for him to be out, it could be a problem for them. because now you're probably going to run the ball more, eat the clock. A player like that out could be a problem. But other guys step up. So their kicking game, I don't know who's going to be in there. It looks like Mevis Harrison is taking over the duties here. He is 28 for 28 extra points. He is 5 for 5 field goals, 1 for 1 for 50 plus. Kicking game looks pretty sound there. If we look at defensively, they do have 13 interceptions on the year, the Rams. They do have an interception return for a touchdown, 10 forced fumbles, 11 fumble recoveries. They have 37 sacks on the year. That's pretty solid. And then they got 53 tackles for loss and 91 quarterback hits, which is pretty solid. They get pressure on the quarterback. If we look at the Vegas lines, the Rams have turned into a dog this year, and they haven't been a dog. They were against Philly. They beat them on that blocked field goal run back, or they lost that game on the blocked field goal run back by Philadelphia. And then that was the only time they were a dog this year. Every other game they've been a favorite. So they're 0-1 against the line as a dog. Okay, so we looked at them. Let's take a look at the Seattle Seahawks and what they've done this year. Okay, coached by Mike McDonald, Clint Kubiak, Aiden Durd. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, seems to be, it's his first year OC with Seattle. Okay, take a look at some of these stats. Seattle's 9th in yards per game in the NFL, 4th in giving up yards. So it's going to be, who's, what gives, in this game. Good offense versus a good defense. No Adams could force McVay to change game plans and change the script here. If we look at passing, they do have 22 passing touchdowns. But, look, McVay, Stafford has 15 more passing touchdowns than Darnold. But if you take Adams out, that's 14. So they're practically even there in that regard. This really, without Adams playing, it really opens up a lot for Seattle, and it turns this game on its head as far as me thinking that this game could get over, because now Seattle can focus more on other players if he's not playing. If we look at rushing touchdowns, they do have 14 on the year. That puts them at 15. But they've only given up 7 rushing touchdowns all year. As far as leaning over and thinking the over, that's totally flipped on its head. 7 touchdowns the whole year. It's absolutely amazing. We look at their SRS; they're not far behind the Rams. They've played a little less tougher of a schedule than the Rams. So they're second in the NFL behind the Rams in the SRS department, sitting at 12.56. And then let's see what they do. We look at some of these stats here. I want to get back to that. So we look at, and they're another team. Oh wait, hold on. Let me get back to the Seattle. Okay, let's get back to Seattle here. If we look at what they do, okay, so they do have, he's got 12 interceptions. So Darnold has 7 more interceptions on the year than Stafford. He's got 15 less touchdowns than Stafford, but if Adams doesn't play, that pretty much negates that, because Adams has 14. They do have 14 rushing touchdowns, only giving up 7. And then we look at them. They're 10th in the NFL points per drive, 2.37. But look at that. They only give up 1.47 points per drive against their opponents, which puts them at second best in the NFL. Third down conversion, they're second in the NFL. So as we said, the Rams, as good as they are, they score, but they don't. It's pretty much explosive plays. They don't convert. They're only converting 38% of their third downs, and that's going to get even tougher tonight against the Seahawks, who are second best in the NFL, they only give their opponents, let their opponents convert 33% of the time. So as far as looking at the over, as I was before, I'm starting to tilt back towards the under, that 42.5. And because Adams is out, because Seattle is at home, because Seattle is second in the NFL in giving up third downs, and because Seattle is second in the NFL points per drive, only giving up 1.47 points per drive, and because Seattle is fifth in the NFL, only giving up 22 touchdowns on 43 red zone attempts for their opponents, which puts them at fifth best in the NFL. So we look at Darnold having a decent year, 22 touchdowns, but he does have 11 interceptions. His ADOT leads the NFL, 8.8 yards per catch for his opponents. Or no, yards per catch, 13.1. Wow. 13.1 leads the NFL there. That's pretty solid. And then he does have 3 game-winning drives and one fourth quarter comeback, which is pretty impressive. If we look at who does it on the ground, Charbonnet leads with 4. Kenneth leads with 8. Charbonnet has 8 on the ground. Kenneth Walker has 4. Those are the 2 bell cows for the Seahawks, and who they're using to get first downs. Both those guys combined for 70 first downs on the year. If we look at yards per reception, Jackson Smith-Njigba, 1541, leads the NFL. He does lead the NFL in first downs with 66. So you got to expect for both these teams, Nakua and Njigba for both these teams are probably going to be the guys that are going to be targeted quite a bit. And you look at Njigba, 110 yards per game reception leads the NFL there too. So he is their guy there. He leads the team in receptions with 9. You got A.J. Barner with 4, and then Torrey Horton with 5. If we look at their kicking, Jason Myers is 37 for 42 field goal attempts, 9 for 12 from 50 plus, 11 for 12 from 40 to 49 yards, and he is a perfect 42 for 42 extra points, and 16 touchbacks. And I could say Seattle has the better kicking game there. Punting, Michael Dixon, 44 punts on the year, almost 50 yards a punt. That's pretty solid. And then 36% of his punts are landing inside the 20. So I give the edge there to both those to Seattle. Seattle is at home. No Davante Adams. I know all the numbers look good for the Rams, but if Adams doesn't play, I think Seattle has more weapons that are good. Njigba leading the NFL in all those categories. You got Horton and Barner. They can chip in, and man, I mean this is flipping fast. You look at the interceptions. Seattle 16, so they're +5 in the interception department compared to the Rams defense. You look at their fumble recoveries, they got 13, very opportunistic. 42 sacks, that's 5 better than the Rams. We said they had 37. Tackles for loss, 77, and 106 quarterback hits. All these stats, man, I was going into this not expecting all this, but, it's a shame that one player can make a difference like that. But when a guy comes out of the offense like that, the line has moved, and I would imagine now that line might not have been a public move. It must have been the move that the books found out that Davante Adams isn't playing. So I'm thinking all along that public money was coming in on the Seattle side because they were just going to fade the Rams, but the line movement makes sense now that it moved. 3 points for a guy that leads the team in touchdown receptions for the Rams, and he's a very, he's a big piece of what they got going on this year. So I know guys can step up, but it just puts more pressure on other guys. And you look at the Seattle defense, I mean, they are just fantastic, man. I mean, all their numbers and metrics are clearly better. They are at home. I did forget to mention that the Rams, Thursday Night Football, in those last 2 games, last 10 games where the Rams are 8-2, the 2 losses have come against Seattle in Seattle. Yeah, they one was a -21. They got beat by the Rams. The total came to 27, and the other game against Seattle was -1. The Rams lost, and the total was 59. So, man, I hate to look at one player and say, oh, this game could go over or under because of one person. Because I like to fade injuries, but when you look at what they're doing, and listen, at the end of the day, Darnold isn't a bad quarterback on Thursday Night Football, and he seems to do good in primetime games, and he is good. I want to show you a stat here that I could bring up on the screen for you guys to kind of look at before we close this video off, because it got definitely tougher as we go. But as we go into Darnold here and we look at his splits, his career splits, we do know that this video 26 minutes. Wow. We do know against the NFC West he is 9-6. Against the Los Angeles Rams, he's 1-3 against the Rams. But when he gets late in the season like this, where it's 13 plus 9-12 games, 9-12, 13, he's 13-6 in games 9 through 12. I want to see what game this is. Okay, so this is 14. So this is game 14. So in those games, he's 17-14. So he's good later in the season, more so than he is necessarily 30-20 once we get to week 9, where he's 24-23 in weeks 1 through 8. It's a big game. It's a tough game. It turned into a coin flip game based on the fact that there is no Davante Adams. I hate fading a team because of injuries. And the public could be selling them because they only beat the Colts last week by 2. But that could have been because it was a look-ahead game for them. This has really turned into a tough game. I'm not going to let one player dictate my cap here. I know, like I said, Stafford is 6-0 in his last 6 versus the Rams since joining Seattle. But Seattle has the better field goal kicker, the better defense. They're at home. And let's not forget, this is a revenge game, right? For the... Yeah, they beat Seattle this year, 21-19. So, in that game, I want to see what this video is getting way out of hand here, man. 21-19. They didn't have any the Rams didn't have any passing touchdowns. They did have one rushing touchdown. Okay. And total offense 414 yards, 5.24 yards. I want to see what Seattle did in that game. Seattle in that game, 29-44 for 279 yards. Darnold had a pretty good game. He didn't pass for any touchdowns in that game. They did rush for 1. They had 5.24 yards per game there. This has turned into a tough cap for me, man. 4.98 to 5.24. Seattle had a better yards per play. Seattle was 4 for 5 in the field goal department, and again, they are that team. They didn't have any field goals in that game, the Rams, in that game. So that's pretty interesting there. If I was to look at this game, I'm flipping the script here. I think Seattle has a little bit more of an edge because they are at home. There is no Davante Adams. This will be one of the rare occasions that I do fade an injury, or that I don't fade an injury, because it's kind of tough to ignore a guy that's leading the NFL with receptions and he's playing on that team. So, if you look at that, and we know Seattle has the field goal kicker, 4 for 5 there in that game that they lost by 2. and they are at home. They turn from dog to favorite. I'm going to go against what I usually do, and I'm going to use my instinct here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call Seattle here. I'm going to call Seattle. But the difference this time is, though, I find that this game is going to get over the total. Even though that one player is out, I think garbage time, turnovers can lead to games. I'm going to call it here. I'm going to make this decision at the 30-minute mark of this long video. I'm sorry it took so long. I gave you a lot of information that led the Rams in the beginning, but the more I capped the game, the more I looked at the last game between these guys, the fact that they are in Seattle, where home field advantage is very, very strong, the fact that even though the Rams are 8-2 in their last 10 Thursday Night Football games, 2 of those losses did come against Seattle. All those things are going to lead me towards the Seattle Seahawks tonight. So that's going to be the pick here. And I am going to take the over, even though Devontae Adams is out. I think other guys will step up. Garbage time. Points will be scored. So that's the pick here. Wager Detective calling Seattle money line -1.5. Very rarely does it fall in that number where they just win by 1. I'm going to take Seattle -1.5. And the game to go over 42.5. Let's see if that's still the line here. Yep, -1.5. I mean, at that price, laying an extra 10 cents just for the sake of not having to worry that it could fall into that number, you know, yeah, Seattle's the play. Over 42.5 in Seattle money line. This is Wager Detective. Sorry for the long video. 6:39 p.m. here from Atlantic City on a mild night. Looking forward to this game. I hope you like the cap. And again, the reasons why I like Seattle: better field goal kicker, better punter, better defense, and I got a sneaky suspicion that, intuition-wise, that Seattle's going to come out and they're going to find a way to edge this game out. And you could be looking at like a 24-21 game. Could be 24-20. Could be 27-20. But I just find that the game does get over, and I think Seattle finds a way to win, and not only win but cover. So that's the call here. Thank you for tuning in. Click the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I appreciate you guys out there. This is Wager Detective signing off.